Hello everyone! In this video, I'll show you how to clean rust and dirt from your cooling system using citric acid. My car is an Audi A6 with a 2.4-liter gasoline engine. It's time to change the coolant because I noticed that the fluid in the expansion tank looks very dirty. I would say there are traces of oil in the antifreeze. Now I'll try to shine a flashlight on the contents of the tank. As you can see, there's an oily film on the surface of the liquid. This could be rust that has accumulated in the engine and radiators. By the way, I replaced the expansion tank with a new one 2 years ago. It was white, and now look at how dark it's become. Of course, I don't want to think that engine oil is already leaking into the coolant. I'd rather believe that the antifreeze has deteriorated due to rust in the engine block. That's why today I'll clean the cooling system using citric acid. For this, I had to buy some citric acid, 100 grams in my case, as well as a few bottles of distilled water. So, first we'll mix the citric acid with distilled water, and after the engine warms up and runs for a while, we'll rinse the system with just distilled water before adding new antifreeze. First, we need to drain the old coolant. I showed how to do this on my car in the previous video. The link is in the description. Now, I'll start from the point where my coolant is already drained, and I'm preparing the cleaning solution to pour into the engine. I repeat, I've already drained the old antifreeze and am now making the cleaning solution. To do this, I'm using citric acid and distilled water. I'll dissolve the citric acid in distilled water and pour it into the car. To make dissolving easier, I'm heating some distilled water in a kettle. Then, in a separate container with the hot water, I'll dissolve the citric acid and mix it with more distilled water. Many people wonder how much citric acid to use per liter of water. From my experience, 15 grams of citric acid per liter of water is usually sufficient. Since my system will use 6 liters of water, I'm dissolving 100 grams of citric acid. While the kettle is heating, I'll pour the citric acid into a separate container. The water in the kettle is now hot, so I'll pour it into a bottle with the citric acid. Once the citric acid has fully dissolved, I'll transfer it to the distilled water. Great! Now we pour it all back into the distilled water. Let's close the bottle and give it a quick shake. The cleaning solution is ready. I think 5 liters will be enough, since some antifreeze remains in the engine, bringing it to about 6 liters, which should fill the cooling system. Next, I'll lift the expansion tank slightly and slowly pour in the citric acid solution. Note, don't forget to loosen the special plug on the engine block to allow any trapped air to escape. After pouring in the citric acid solution, I'll secure the tank and check the level. As you can see, my fluid level is within the normal range, between the minimum and maximum marks. I released the air from the system using the special plug. I loosened it, and when the water started flowing out, I tightened the plug and added more water to the expansion tank. Now I'm securing the tank back in place, and after this, we can start the car and begin warming it up. It's recommended to warm the engine to at least 80 degrees Celsius to allow the citric acid to react and start dissolving the rust. So, it's best to drive the car a bit, at least for 20 minutes, so it warms up thoroughly, the thermostat opens, and the liquid flows into the radiator. I'll drive around the city a little, then return to the garage and drain the citric acid solution. I'm really curious to see the color of the water. After driving and cleaning the engine with citric acid, it's time to drain it. But don't rush. Let the engine cool down a bit so you don't get burned by the hot water. By the way, if you look into the expansion tank, you can see all sorts of debris floating around. It's clear that the citric acid solution is working and the expansion tank is a bit cleaner now. Now, let's drain the citric acid water and see its color. So, I've drained the solution from the cooling system, and just look at the state it's in. The clear water turned black and red. It looks as if we drained antifreeze, not citric acid with water. I think the system has been thoroughly cleaned. You could repeat the procedure in the same proportions. But I think this is enough, so I'll move on to the next step, removing all the citric acid from the cooling system. So don't add new antifreeze right away. First, fill the system with only distilled water, and it's even better if you add a little baking soda to it. This will help rinse out all the citric acid, and only then do we add new antifreeze. I've added clean distilled water. Close the cap and don't forget to release air from the system using that same plug on the engine block. Now I'll drive around again and then drain the distilled water along with any remaining citric acid. So, I drove around a bit and warmed up the engine well. I parked in the garage and drained the distilled water. Looking at the results, I see the expansion tank is in better shape. It's cleaner, maybe not like new, but definitely better than it was. And what about the water? Here's the drained liquid, which was distilled water. As you can see, it's a little cleaner than the solution with citric acid, though still far from perfectly clear. I'd say it has a more reddish tint. I don't expect perfectly clear water from this engine since it's rusty inside, so maybe I'll repeat this procedure sometime later. Now that we've cleaned our cooling system, it's time to add new antifreeze. I bought a concentrate this time, diluted it, and added it to the system. I explained how I did this in the previous video. That's it for now. Bye.